What's up, everybody? Welcome to podcast now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk a little bit about Scream 7. It's been about a month since I've done a video on this. I miss it, and that's kind of part of the reason why I wanted to do this video. I saw a nice little rumor online. I've seen a couple different things, and look, I'm pretty picky. I don't want to be spoiled on this thing as we get closer. Again, that's kind of part of it. Like, I'm just really, really excited for when we actually get to the trailer, and that's kind of one element of this, right? We heard over the last couple weeks that I think even Viewer Anon was the original one to say it, that maybe it would be like that first week of November. So, and we've continued to kind of talk about this as time has gone on. If people kind of expect the trailer now or last month or even next month, it just seems like it's just factually not going to happen. And I mean, I get it. I get wanting to see it as quickly as possible, just for that excitement. But, you look at horror movies and you look specifically how Scream has done it. And I think we've said this before. I think it's smart, to limit it to like 3-4 months. It's a whodunit. You can't show all that much. Trailers are very much make or break. I think with time kind of being an ally now, being able to look back at Scream 5 and Scream 6, which again, in my opinions on them have changed a little bit as time has gone on, but not too much, I would say. Scream 5, I think so much of that, in hindsight, was kind of ruined by those trailers that showed way too much, right? Whereas 6, I think they did a much better job. But, you want interviews, you want these little snippets, you want a social media presence. You can't have like 6 months of these posts, on social media and stuff. It's just not going to happen. So to start it now, you would end up with just gaps. I would much rather prefer 3 months of near consistent talk, whether it's, they post on Discord or they post on Twitter, whatever. I would prefer that over showing a trailer now and then 2 months go by and then you show another one. And even with that, you could mess up one of these. You could mess up trailer number 1 and it would really be game over, depending on what they show there. So, that was one element to it. I've seen, I think, like Mason Gooding did an interview a couple days ago, and just some people use like rather big words, I think, to describe the the feel of Scream 7, like the actors that worked on it. I guess that element that I wanted to talk about in this video is just, I believe them. I believe this general excitement. And it's more specifically, I would say, with Kevin Williamson. And this is going to be, I think, really fun as we get closer and closer and closer. Like, him not being the writer, but him being the director has always been something in my head where it's like, okay, well, how does that actually, because we talk about him returning and what that could mean. But, when you don't literally write it from scratch, how much say do you ever truly have? But I get a little bit more optimistic every time somebody talks about him, because it's like, well, at the same time, he's going in, he's directing, and I mean, he's this ultimate, besides Wes Craven, right? He is the ultimate figure, and he's the one that's still alive. So when he's there, it's like, yeah, this guy means business. And it just seems like there's so much respect and trust that it's like, even if something maybe in the script isn't even all that good, maybe he fixes it. Maybe it's just, it just has the sense of optimism where it's like, as long as he's around, we're okay. And it's one thing for you and me to say it, right? We talk, we say whatever we feel, right? But for like these people on set to have that feeling and to feel like everything's just like almost perfect, that goes a long way, right? Because these are the people that are actually working on the film. Now, sometimes they lie and sometimes they exaggerate and stuff to mask certain things, right? But I do believe, because everybody has kind of said it, but Mason Gooding and a couple other people, I mean, whenever they bring it up, they're just always saying like the greatest things of all time. So that does get me pretty excited. And the big thing I wanted to talk about was, and this is from Ju Jahara, and I hope I'm saying his last name right. It's a little hard for me to say, but I trust this guy a ton. I'm not really pleased what I've seen on the internet with people saying, oh, this is just some random. I mean, maybe, is he a random account? I guess technically he's a random account, but I trust this guy a ton. I guess I'll kind of just leave it there. And he posted a few days ago screen times in terms of how long Sidney and Gale would be in this movie. I also see people kind of making fun of that idea, and it's like, I actually think that's kind of fun. I'm not going to literally sit there when the movie comes out to time it, to like judge if he was 100% accurate. But I mean, I talk about Pirates of the Caribbean quite often. If somebody were to leak how much Jack Sparrow is like on screen in Pirate 6, I would pay for that info. I really would like that. So I don't know. Is it a small thing? Besides, actually was going to say next. Is it really a small thing? I don't think it is, because I think it can actually have a big impact. I don't know. I just see some people clowning on it, distrusting him. I trust him. But let's read the Twitter post that I'm actually talking about. So he said, Nev Campbell dominates Scream 7 with 40-plus minutes of screen time. Courtney Cox hits the 20-minute mark, nearly matching her Scream 2 appearance. And then he says when he shares screen time numbers, he's talking about actual on-screen presence, the moments you can see the actor in frame. For example, Gale had an 8-minute sequence in 6, but her screen time was about 11 minutes. It's about presence on screen, not how much they're part of the story. And I kind of like that as well, right? Because if you're having two characters do a heavy dialogue thing, and then one of these two is like off the camera, just slightly there, do you count that? Well, they might have been on sets, and technically they're in the film for, say, those 45 seconds that you can look at them, but to be honest with you, that's not the point. And that's a thing that I can appreciate with this, where it's like, okay, 40 plus minutes and then 20 minutes, where it's like it's their story. They're the ones really driving it, I think is probably the best way of saying it. It's not them necessarily listening to other two characters talk, and they're kind of off, where it doesn't really matter if you had them or you don't have them. And what this really, I guess, signifies to me, if you believe it, of course, now I believe it, but if you don't, that's okay. What it really would signify, right, is kind of these rumors that we've heard all the way through that I've always wanted to believe, and I kind of have warmed up to as time has gone on, that it really is her movie, right? That and I think somebody said that on social media too, where it's like this passing of the torch thing really is not happening here. And I mean, he's said it before on social media. Other people have said it before, where it's like, her daughter is going to play an integral part. She would be considered a main character, but it's not about her giving that legacy to her or passing the torch, which is cool. And, we talked about it before. Like, I think eventually you need to do that. I think, for these franchises to survive, if you want them to survive, it helps to have those legacy characters move past the torch, right, to the next era. And many films have tried it. I would say very few actually have been successful at it. I would say Scream actually kind of was success. Scream is one of the most unique examples, because they tried it with 5, overwhelmingly did it, and I would say was backed up with reception and money, like success, with 6. They quite literally passed the torch in 5, where you have the legacy cast, the originals, and you have a new group, right? And you make them not really 50-50. You kind of make the new group more important. You pass it off, and then you expect that they can carry it the next movie. Most movies don't even make it to the next movie. Scream did. And then I would say, people's opinions are pretty split on 6. I overall really, really liked it. And then the money came in, and it came in at a higher rate than even 5. So it's like you could absolutely argue that it worked. And then it's an interesting thing, obviously, with what happened. And now here we are at 7. So it's like they actually succeeded, which is cool. And then now you're kind of going back and you're doing, the OG cast again. So they're in a, kind of a different spot. But I guess to the point of, like, we've done this. And it's not even like we failed. We actually succeeded here. But that's not what we need to do right now. So, hey, maybe in 5-10 years, they will need to do this again. And maybe we get another Scream 5, or maybe you convince Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega to come back. Maybe the rights get sold, right? And you do something kind of wacky there. But it's like, not right now, right? Right now is not really that time. And we've been told that, but then, if this minute thing is correct, I mean, that's a ton of screen time. That's heavy presence from these two, and specifically Sidney. So I continue to get more excited. Obviously, I'll be talking about this movie so much as we get closer. It's just we're not kind of there yet. I don't want to, like I said, I really am trying to avoid massive spoilers. I see people do videos, do tweets all the time, on stuff like that. Not really looking for that. I'm trying to play it safe, and I think that'll make it more fun when we get to the trailers, when we get to all that stuff. I think it'll be a little bit more refreshing, me not knowing that stuff versus knowing it. That's just my opinion, though. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.